Let's go to our first topic of the day. According to records obtained by the House Judiciary Committee, the FBI has attempted to develop sources inside both Christian churches and Catholic dioceses under the pretext of combating domestic terrorism. Now, y'all listen to this. Domestic terrorism. And where is the FBI looking? They're going inside churches. Now, we're living in a climate these days where attacks on churches literally are skyrocketing. We're watching as pro-life advocates have been targeted for arrest. So why in the world is the federal government prying into Christian churches? Well, joining me now to discuss this and more is U.S. Representative Dan Bishop. He serves on the House Homeland Security Committee and the House Judiciary Committee. He represents the 8th Congressional District of North Carolina. Congressman Bishop, welcome to Washington Watch.
My good friend Jody Heiss, good to be back with you, sir.
Well, listen, it's great to see you. And listen, I'll just throw this out there. It's no secret you've been tweeting about this, but I understand you've been on injured reserve, so to speak, for the last week or so. Great to see you back in the saddle.
Thanks. It was a little bit of a struggle coming from the home studio, but we got through the necessaries, and it's good exercise to get that. But I had a torn Achilles tendon, worked on Monday and recovering well. Thanks, Jody.
Wow, well, you're looking great. It's good to see you. All right, let's jump into this, Congressman. You serve on the House Judiciary Committee. Can you tell us to this point, what have you learned? What are you learning about the FBI targeting churches?
So, you know, the original story that emerged here, Jody, I think it was back in February, a document came out from a whistleblower where some woke analyst within the FBI, intelligence analyst, was suggesting that radicalized or radical traditionalist Catholics, I believe is what they call them, RTCs, were out in the countryside and need to be looked at by the federal government. And we were assured that that was an oddball thing that had come out. It didn't represent actual policy in the FBI, didn't mean anything. And we've asked for complete documents to see what else is there, and basically been stonewalled by the FBI so far. And then emerges another whistleblower released document, this one that you mentioned from the FBI, indicating that they're looking for opportunities to infiltrate Catholic parishes to identify supposed domestic violent extremists or people who are inclined to be domestic terrorists. It is a shocking thing. And now that I've seen, you have played the tape of Merrick Garland back from some days ago in front of Josh Hawley in the Senate, but I can remember him back in October of 2021 when the FBI, when he sent his famous memo out about parents of school children protesting and the nationwide warning he sort of sent and instructions to have meetings and so forth. He assured us then he doesn't act. The Department of Justice and the FBI don't have an axe to grind against people who are of faith or people who are exercising their First Amendment rights to speak. And yet we continue to see these pieces of evidence that it is happening. And our obligation now, Jody, is to get to the bottom of it, to get everything exposed. We can't take them at face value when they say, oh, that first memo was nothing, and then another one leaks out. We've got to know on behalf of the American people how bad this rot is within that agency, the FBI, and the Department of Justice.
We really do. I mean, I cannot describe the degree of disturbance that this whole thing causes me. And as you go back, I'd forgotten going back all the way to 21, where we have the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, claiming that the FBI does not target any kind of church groups, religious groups. Now, here's the question then. Was he lying, or to me, it's just one of these two options. Either he was lying before Congress, or he is so out of touch with his own department, his own agency, and they're not reporting to him. What do you think is the bottom of it? What is the truth here?
It's a great question, Jody. That first appearance, I remember he was very blasé and nonchalant and said we never pick on anybody based on their First Amendment activity. And I sort of took it at face value. It seemed clueless. The longer it goes, though, with all the evidence that's come out, the lack of any retraction of his memo back concerning the school, parents of school children that was issued then, even though subsequently outside groups that had requested action, backed off of their letter, the National Association of School Boards, for example. He's never backtracked. And now when he stands up with that record and sits in front of the Josh Hawley in the Senate and says, oh, there's nothing going on, we don't target people of religious activity, when this evidence has emerged, I think it's something far more insidious. And I cannot tout that up to or tote that up to sort of a nonchalance or a lack of information. I think he knows what's happening, and I think he's covering for it.
Well, it's hard for me to disagree with you. I mean, this something of this nature, he would have to be aware of it, you would think. But let's go on to another layer, if you will, of this whole discussion. We have now the story of the Biden administration recommending a sweetheart deal, literally, to a vandal that went to a Catholic church, defaced the church with spray paint, profane graffiti, tipped over a statue of the Virgin Mary, literally assaulted a church worker, resisted arrest. I mean, we go on and on and on into all of this. And yet the Biden administration offers a sweetheart deal, no jail time for this individual. Your thoughts?
Absolutely, Jody. And everyone who watches FRC knows that about Mark Houck's experience, where the Justice Department, based on a squabble involving maybe one shove outside an abortion clinic, they said they tried to take a pro-life protester's, well, as a father protecting his son, Mark Houck, and subject him to a jury trial for an 11-year sentence is what they proposed. It took the jury acquitting him to get the Department of Justice off his back. But in this instance, this very serious vandalism, and even, I think there was the resisting arrest part was he took the vandal took a backpack of spray paint cans and smashed them into a police vehicle. And so this was serious business. And the FBI is content, the DOJ, I should say, is content not to seek any time at all to give a sweetheart deal. So it is another piece of evidence in this continuing stream that suggests that the Department of Justice is no friend to people exercising religious faith and is in fact hostile to those people.
Yeah, that is a chilling thought to go down that path. Just to imagine, and we don't have time to get into this, Congressman, but if this had been a pro-life individual to a Planned Parenthood, defacing it, tipping over statues, destroying property, assaulting a worker at the Planned Parenthood, I can guarantee you there would not be a deal to say no jail time for that individual. It's unthinkable. Real quickly, and we've only got less than a minute here left, but if we can, the Manhattan District Attorney, Alvin Bragg, is now suing Jim Jordan and so forth for his subpoena. Give me your brief thoughts on that.
So, Jody, that it's as plain as day. If a prosecution is commenced by a local prosecutor predicated on First Amendment activity as a retaliation for someone's political speech or activity, that's unconstitutional. And everybody knows who's looking at this Alvin Bragg indictment of President Trump, it appears to be political in nature. And that is an appropriate concern of the Judiciary Committee. We have a right and a legitimate legislative purpose to investigate. We're going to do that. This late effort to stop the subpoena will not succeed. It's already kind of bumbling around, but we're going to get after it, and we're going to stay after it.
Congressman Dan Bishop, you're looking great. Thank you so much for joining us on Washington Watch.
Good to be with you, Jody.